Good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to go ahead and call the board meeting to order and have Alfonso go through roll call, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Glad to see you all, even if it's virtually. So let me start top of the list with Mr. Hector Aguilar. Hector Aguilar. Carol Belver.
I'm here.
Thank you, Carol. Ben Brenneman. Mr. Brenneman. Debbie Burkhardt. Ms. Burkhardt. Camille Clay.
I'm here.
Thank you, Camille. Marco Cruz. Mr. Cruz. Senator Dillett. Ms. Dillett. Woody Agerbertson.
I'm here. Hey, y'all.
Thank you. Thank you, Woody. Renee Flores. Mr. Flores. Jenna Von Thomas.
Here.
Thank you, Jenna. Becky Garlick.
I'm here.
Thank you, Becky. Kimberly Good. Miss Good. Yeah. Denise Harlan. Miss Harlan. Tracy Jackson.
I'm here.
Thank you, Tracy. Mike Camerlander. Mr. Camerlander. Frank, I see you're here.
Present.
Earlier notice, present. Jeff Light. Mr. Light. And I see Margaret Lindsay present.
Present.
Thank you, Margaret. Briley Mitchell.
Present.
Thank you, Briley. Cassandra Moya.
I'm here.
Hi, Cassandra. Tim Oles.
I'm here.
Thank you, Tim. Eben Riggs. Mr. Riggs. John Robinson. Mr. Robinson. And Alfonso Cifuentes, hereby present. Nikki Stallings.
Present.
Hi, Nikki. Scott Staten. Mr. Staten. Jennifer Tucker.
Here.
Thank you, Jennifer. And Elva Zeb. Has anybody else showed up since last roll call?
Alfonso, I think I saw Ben Brenneman come on.
Yes, sir. Ben Brenneman, I'm here.
Okay, Ben, thank you.
Alfonso Hector.
Mr. Aguilar is also present, okay. Anyone else? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm counting 17 present, enough for quorum, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you very much. All right, has anybody joined for public comment?
Frank, this is Diane. No, I don't see any public comment requests.
All right, thanks, Diane. All right, at this point, next item on our agenda is information sharing regarding a customer testimonial. Brian's not able to join us today, but Diane or Paul, you're gonna.
I'll introduce this.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Sorry you couldn't be here. So what we're going to hear is the story of a former youth customer, Mia Diaz, who received training as a dental assistant and worked with one of our fabulous youth talent development specialists, Amanda Perez. one of the things that's really impactful about Mia's story is how her confidence grew, and she was able to see that she wanted a different path for her future. She really worked on getting on that path with our support. She says in part of her story about how sometimes she might want to give up, but she kept going. She found the discipline and courage to complete the training, pass all the tests, and you can hear the pride in her saying 2 years later, she has her dream job. Diane, from the video.
My name is Amia Diaz. I got in contact with the Workforce Solutions through my aunt. Me and my mom met Amanda, and I started with the youth program with them. And from there, they helped me get with the dental assisting program in Kyle at Kyle Dental. And I did the 13-week program. They helped provide my uniform, and they gave me a grant to start school. It was a journey. I was working at Laredo's Tacos, and then I transferred to McDonald's. And when I got to McDonald's, I just had life hit me. It's like, I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, working at restaurants or retail and stuff like that. I wanted something more meaningful in my life. I wanted a good schedule. I wanted to be able to learn and make sure that the work that I put in is because I want to and I'm passionate about it. And when I got with the program, it just kind of opened my eyes and told me that I just need to keep going and to push myself. There was 1 month where I had to do my internship, and I was there every day getting my hours in because I would work. My work was in the morning time, and so it would kind of interfere if I needed to work certain days and do my internship hours, but I still did it and I got it done. And the workforce did help me a lot, like not just uniforms, but mentally they helped me a lot. Like I didn't feel like I needed to be worried about certain things that would get in my way of my success. I didn't think I was going to be able to get the opportunity that the workforce gave me. I would say do not feel like you won't be able to get the benefits that you need. And just to stay the course and just be confident in what you're wanting to do, not just dental assistant. If you want to be and go to college or do any other trade that you're passionate about. And it may in the beginning you have some doubts, but as the time and the course goes along the way, you'll start to feel more confident in yourself and know that this is what I want to do. And that's how I was. Like in the beginning, I was just so hard on myself and saying I'm not going to be able to do this. This is just so hard. And I went through the whole course. I didn't miss a day. I took all the tests. I passed. And I was just so proud of myself because I did it. And nobody else told me, oh, Mia, you need to get up and go to school and you need to do your homework. No, I did it all by myself. I studied. I cried a couple of times, but through those tears, I accomplished a lot in those 13 weeks. And that was back in 2019 when I had started, and now it's 2021 and I'm working full time and I have the best job in the world that I've been wanting. And just it's just an awesome feeling. I would want somebody to feel the same way that I feel, the success and knowing that you did it.
All right, thanks, Paul. Yeah, sorry Brian couldn't join us today, but it's always great to hear the stories, the success stories from individuals, job seekers that are out there that we're able to help and certainly make a difference in their lives. So these are great stories to hear. And I know we only hear one every couple of months, but I think these type of things are happening every day out there. So don't lose sight on what our mission is out there. So thank you. Next item on our agenda is to approve the consent agenda. In your board packet, you have the meeting minutes from the April 21st board meeting and the COVID policy that's been in place. So I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda with those two items.
So moved. This is Tim.
Thank you, Tim.
I'll second.
Thank you, Carol. For the motion in a second, any discussion? All right, of those that are online, of course, you should see the poll come up for you to vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
I was on mute. Everybody completed the poll virtually. There were 7 ayes.
Okay. We have more than 7 folks virtually.
We do.
Yeah. Okay, if you are joining via Zoom, when the polls come up for the voting, if you would please complete that so that we can have hopefully complete votes. So thank you.
And if you don't see the poll, maybe to put in chat whether or not you approve. Some people may have been as an attendee and have
At the poll. Okay. Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. We'll get better with all that stuff. I know we've been doing it a while. There's always little kinks in it. So thank you all for your patience on that. All right, next item on the agenda is executive committee report. So we met on June the 19th. Only item we had for discussion was the renewal of Paul's contract, which will be for beginning October 1, but that was reviewed at that point stated in the contract that we review that in June. So believe that was really all that was happening with the executive committee. So anything else? I mean, I've got some notes on a bunch of stuff, but that's different. So yeah, so that's really all we had as far as the executive committee goes. Anybody has any questions for me? All right, next on the agenda is a report from the Business and Education Services Committee. Woody, are you going to present that?
Yeah, partly, yeah, with some help from the staff, of course. Good afternoon, y'all. The Business and Education Committee met on June 3rd, 2021, and we had a good turnout. And right up front, I wanted to thank those who were able to attend and for your input and help in doing what we're trying to do here. Our biggest item on our agenda was some child care policy revisions. And they're in your packet there. I'm going to ask Linda to help me with this, but mainly there's five provisions or revisions that we want the board to vote on. Some of these are revisions that the child care staff has seen that they would need to make their job easier. And some of them are in response to TWC coming to us and saying, you need to change your policies in this regard. So Linda, if you have a few minutes, can you go over them? And then after we're done, if you have any questions, feel free to ask about them before we vote on them.
Sure, I'd be happy to. I'm just going to give a high-level overview of the policies. So the first ones are recommendations that were made by the child care staff that basically clarified language in the current child care policy. So it would change child care operator, the wording of child care operator instead of contractor. It also clarified the activity requirements of a two-parent family, meaning that each person in that family, each parent had to work at least 25 hours in order to meet their requirements. It also clarified the policy on how parents should contact regarding remain on the wait list. The current policy said by phone, but there are multiple ways that are now acceptable for parents to notify the operator they want to stay on the wait list. And the last one is, not the last one, but the other clarifying point was, it clarified that when a parent wants to remove their child from a provider, they have to give at least a 2-week notice to the current provider before transferring the child. And the other two items were instituted by TWC guidance letter and TWC rules. The first one is the TWC contract where children were to be signed into their centers, that they would swipe with a point of sale device using a card. So now that contract has now expired, and so they have to manually report those absenteeism. So TWC requires that providers have to report whenever a child is absent 5 consecutive days. They must report that to the child care provider. And the second one has to do with the pre-K partnership that was established by House Bill 3 in 2019, that basically says that when a pre-K provider refers to a child care facility, that they don't have to go on the wait list at all. So they have priority over other children. So that's about it in a nutshell. And Diane, I guess maybe you might want to clarify the pre-K stuff for me if I didn't explain it adequately.
Sure. So in order to stay in compliance with the state law that was passed, when there is a formal established pre-K partnership between a school district and an early care and education provider, for the amount of time that those children are not in the pre-K classroom, we are, per state law, we are providing services to the kind of wraparound services for those children so that the early care and education provider will remain whole for the amount of care that's being provided throughout the day. So the child does not have to leave halfway through the day. They can stay there, continue to remain care, and that care will be funded through Child Care Solutions. And that was a rule change that came through based on some regulatory requirements from 2019. And so this is the process of putting it into our policy so that we can ensure that we are in compliance with that change.
And so the changes are highlighted in yellow in your packet that you have. So I'll give you some time to read that if you have any further questions.
Do we have any questions on these revisions?
This item is something that needs board approval since it is a policy change. So if I could, at the moment, I'd like to see if I can would entertain a motion to approve the changes to the child care policy.
I assume.
Sweet. And a second.
Jenna Von Thomas will second.
Thank you, Jenna. All right, with a motion and a second, can have any discussion? Is there any further discussion or clarification that's needed?
Just a point of clarification, 2 things. This is Tim. One is, I think on the video, we already voted on that as a part of the standing agenda items just earlier in the meeting. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but I seem like I was clicked on 2 different things.
So
Secondly,
sorry, Tim, but there were 2 things there under the consent agenda, and it was mislabeled childcare policy. It should have read continuation of 2019 policy.
Correct.
okay, very good. Second piece was in the minutes for the child care group. There was discussion there about how people become that the policy was going to reflect how folks become a partner. I didn't see that in the policy, and certainly trust you all to cover that, but I was just wondering if that was supposed to be in the policy, or that's just going to be a point of discussion when we get to that group, as how people become one of those partners.
I think that's a great question. That is actually something that we are planning on covering in our operational procedure, because the mechanism by which an early care and education provider enters into an established partnership with the school district is kind of outside of how we would be able to influence that. So really, our policy will come into play once that school district and early care and education provider enter into a formal partnership in whichever way it would look for the school district to be able to provide those pre-K services in conjunction with their provider.
Got it. Okay, thank you. That's helpful.
Mhm.
All right, thanks, Tim. Yeah, thanks, Diane. All right, any other discussion? All right, if you're online, if you could please participate in the poll for voting in favor or opposed. Those in the room, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? I believe from what I see on the screen with the online vote that motion would carry. Did that close, Diane?
Yes, polling is closed.
Okay, thank you. All right, next item on our agenda is a report from the Community Awareness Committee. Camille, are you going to present that report?
I will.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. So we met back in May. We had 5 members present, and we started our meeting with some information sharing from Rachel White. She is a talent development facilitator, and she gave us some insight on their workshops and initiatives. So basically, just so that we can kind of better understand who all of our partners are. And so then we went on, and one of the main things that we try to do in every one of our meetings, in addition to our information sharing, is we also have Brian bring different things to us, and we try to give him some feedback on some of the major initiatives that he's working on and for our committee work. And one of the things that he brought this time is an outreach idea for You Are Essential. And our committee kind of gave him some feedback on that. And I think the consensus of the committee was that we really liked the framework of You Are Essential. You know, all workers are essential to us getting back to work. And so we really liked that play, and we gave him some feedback on that. And then Brian updated us on some of our different initiatives that he's working on. Promoting the Texas Rising Star program, some employer showcase videos. You can see some of the different things there. And then we started talking just a little bit about our structure of our meetings, wanting to get feedback from the group, make sure that they still wanted the information sharing and things like that. And I think everyone who was present said they definitely wanted to continue, because even in our positions, we always learn something that is important to our group, but it's also important to what we do in our work life as well. And so got some feedback on that. We also started discussions about how that our structure might need to change just a little bit in preparing to support some of the strategic workforce plans as those committees continue to finalize some of the different plans there. And with that, we set our next meeting date for mid-July and adjourn.
Okay, thank you, Camille. Any questions for Camille relating to the Community Awareness Committee? Okay, thank you. Sorry, trying to make sure that we got a motion in a second and got that on the floor before too much discussion took place on the child care policy, so we could officially have the floor open for that discussion. failed to let Woody finish up. I guess there was a few other items there that he wanted to share relating to the Business and Education Committee. So let me let him finish up there. Apologize for that.
That's okay, Frank, yeah. Just briefly, there were some issues that we talked about with the Business and Education Committee. One was how we could possibly improve the relationship between businesses and childcare services. And we did talk quite a while about this particular issue. And of course, the issue is that we have parents, on one hand, we have parents who must be working in order to qualify for the childcare tuition assistance. And on the other hand, they can't accept employment unless they have childcare for their children. And so there's that gap between, being between that. And so we discussed quite a bit about how we could possibly address that with businesses to make them aware that there is a childcare whatever you want to call it. We always call it tuition assistance. And also that there was businesses could benefit from the work opportunity tax credit, which some of you may be aware of. Certain people who are hired by a company or a firm, they're going to get a tax credit because they are drawing childcare or all kinds of different things that they could do that. I think there's also, what are the other things that they get for tax credit, Mike? You might.
Yeah, it's for convicted, newly released.
That's
from,
right.
From convicted
That's right.
felons.
And I think veterans,
yes.
People on not food stamps, but
SNAP.
Yeah. There's other things. So that was what we wanted to try to do, is to get that word out to the businesses that it would be a benefit to them to maybe be aware that there is because now that we're in a situation, as we all know, that there's a lot of businesses that can't hire people who don't want to go to work for whatever reason there is. And some of that reason could be they don't have childcare, and they're not going to get childcare unless they're working. So there's that dilemma, that issue. And so I don't know what the answer is. It's probably not one, but that's something. A lot of it is funding, and we know that. But was there anything else, Diane, that we wanted to talk about from my notes?
Sorry, Diane, I'll let you fill that in.
No, go ahead.
Okay.
I was just going to say that was all we had discussed at that meeting. That meeting was the focus of childcare. But if Diane has any other details that you remember,
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. Nope, that was it. Woody, you covered it.
Okay, all right. Thanks, Kara. Good to see you. How are you doing?
You too.
Okay, thanks, Frank. That was it. And then we adjourn. We're going to do a doodle poll to determine when we're going to meet again. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Frank.
All right. Thank you, Woody. Hey, anybody, any questions for the Business Education Service Committee? All right. Thank you. Next item on our agenda is a Governance and Finance Committee report. Renee is not here, so I'll just real quick, a few things, and I'll turn it over to Paul, I guess. We did meet on June the 9th. A couple items that we had for discussion was a financial overview, as always, every month, to review the financials with Renee and Janie and approve those financials. We were given a cybersecurity report. AT&T conducted their initial, I'll call it a gap analysis. I don't know if that's the proper term, but of our risk for cybersecurity. It was reported to us by Eric and Paul that we really did quite well on that. Some items that need to be addressed, and they'll be working to move forward with those items, but certainly nothing that was a major alarm or anything. So that process is continuing to go forward. So yeah, so those are the only items that we had for discussion. I'll let Paul or Janie comment on the financials.
Okay, I'll be happy to do that. On the screen, you're seeing the kind of budget versus actual report that we look at here every month and bring to the board meeting every other month. We got a couple of footnotes there. We haven't made any additions to the budget in this current round, so it's as it was the last time you guys saw it. Our footnote number 1 there on operating expenses, it's just some things that were kind of front loaded into the beginning of the year that we're kind of every month we get a little closer to having that be lining up more with projections of where it would be in a 12-month budget. So we paid some expenses at the beginning of the year that kind of amortized out over the entire year. Footnote number 2, looking at our childcare infrastructure. So that we had some allocation plan adjustments where we were not necessarily charging our childcare programs in the right way. So we've gone back and made some adjustments to reflect that, make sure that that's equitable and coming out and it should come out in alignment with our budget as we move throughout the year. Footnote number 3. This includes contracted services for the child care automated attendance system, which has since gone away. So we're not seeing those costs like we probably would when we did the budget. Footnote number 4. So we're with our contractor Equus, we're currently ramping up our services under the NDW contract that was greatly increased this year. So when we initially did the budget, it was about $500,000, and then after we got the additional money, it went to about $2 million. So big increase, and we're ramping up services to meet that. And then our final footnote there is about small contracts, and a lot of these contracts start and end at different times during the year, so the projections really just don't work well for these small contracts. So we are on track for the contracts where we need to be. It just doesn't reflect well, and we do that straight line projection. So that's what we're showing in number 5. Any questions about the budget versus actual? If we go to the next page, it's just statement of revenue and expenditures. And that's, I think things are in line. I know that our Janie, our financial officer, had met with Renee Flores to go through all that, and he had reported back at the finance and governance meeting that everything looked like it was in alignment with where we expected things to be. The next page is a longer version of that same report. But we're, as Renee said, our financials are getting boring, and that's a good thing. You like boring financials. Our next page is a balance sheet, which shows all of our assets and our liabilities, and they all net out. Everything's lining up like it should, which shouldn't be very startling, but for us, given our history, it's quite an improvement to have a balance sheet that balances. So we're happy that things are moving forward in a positive way. So I think financially we're in excellent shape. Frank mentioned some budget work going on, and we're currently working on that budget, and we'll be presenting that to the Finance and Governance Committee and to the full board in August.
Yeah, that was going to be my last comment, is that the Finance and Governance Committee will be meeting again on August the 11th to review the budget, hopefully approve. And if we are at that point, then we'll bring it to the August board meeting for approval by the board. So if we can get that done for a October 1 start with the new fiscal year. Any questions relating to anything with the Finance and Governance Committee? All right, thank you. Next item on the agenda is a report from the Untapped Populations Committee. Cassandra, are you going to present that?
Yes, I am.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Good afternoon. Our Untapped Populations Committee met on May 10th. We had 9 people in attendance, and we had 2 guests. Our guests were Carrie Wilson, who is the Student Hireability Navigator, and Jessica Olmos, who is the Special Projects Coordinator, currently working with SEAL, the Summer Earn and Learn program. Both of them went over what their roles are within their programs, how our Hireability Navigator helps to bridge gaps between VR, employers and our school districts to ensure we're reaching those population groups and bringing them in for services. And then our Summer Earn and Learn program works with VR and our Workforce Solutions rural capital area to offer work readiness and work experiences, paid work experiences to a number of students with disabilities. So she went over her program that she's currently working with. At the time of our meeting, she had 160 applicants that they were working on matching job sites with. Some of those job sites were childcare, working within the library, doing administrative duties, Boys and Girls Club, a lot of customer service, thrift stores, retails, food industry, bussers, a bowling alley, again, a lot of customer service. They did talk about some of the industries that are more difficult to tap into to work with these populations were technology, animal care, and any kind of automobile or mechanic that a lot of our students show interest in, but have a more difficult time getting in the employers to agree to have our students work there for a paid work experience. One of the things that we identified was there's opportunities to collaborate with the way that we promote Summer Earn and Learn with how the Hireability Navigator approaches employers as well. So working together better as a team between the two of them to approach businesses and employers about their importance of hiring students and giving students opportunities within our communities to show what they can do and to work and give them those opportunities, and understanding the value as a business of the asset that hiring younger people or these people with disabilities as well is to their businesses. The next thing that we went over was our committee is looking at developing a questionnaire for job seekers that come into our workforce centers, because we want to ensure that we're offering them every opportunity that we have to serve them. So a questionnaire that will ask information about their level of education, what kinds of jobs they're looking for, what is their skill set. We're looking to gather metrics across all of those areas to better understand the counties that we serve and our customer base within those counties, but then also ensuring that when people come into our workforce solutions, we're giving them every opportunity to be served. Sometimes someone comes in and says, well, I want a specific thing that they've heard about, but there are other programs that can be offered to them that they didn't think to ask about. So we want to make sure that we're serving them across the board. And then, of course, we always talk about our business perspective. There is a We Hireability Recognition program, and we discussed with them the importance of our committee of how we can make sure we're reaching out to our employers in the community to give them praise and recognition for hiring people with disabilities and working with our untapped populations. We're also talking about business perspectives of creating webinars that can help our businesses in the counties that we serve, and then measuring outcomes as we move forward. So our next steps are just our ongoing data of understanding who's in our communities, where our untapped populations lie, and who we can serve and focus on. Also that skill up deployment, which is that questionnaire, that information to help us recognize our populations and ways that we can best serve everybody together. And that active task of actively identifying employers in our community that we can ensure receive recognition for We Hireability initiatives that are provided through the board. So our next meeting is July 12th, and that's it, unless I missed anything, Diane.
No, Cassandra, I think that was a great summary.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Cassandra. Does anybody have any questions for the Untapped Populations Committee? All right, thank you. Next item on our agenda is a Chief Executive Officer report from Paul.
Well, good afternoon. So we continue to be able to do more in-person events as things trend back to some degree of normalcy. We did a soft opening of our workforce centers at the beginning of June to allow customers to come in without an appointment. And we're planning to do an announcement of that change in status very soon. So the public can now choose how they access our services, either in person, online, curbside, or any combination of those. And we've also been conducting an aggressive social media campaign to get everyone back in the workforce. Unemployment rates continue to drop, and I think we'll be in a much fuller employment status by the fall. For childcare, we have additional support coming for early care and education providers through a grant program administered by the Workforce Commission called Texas Child Care Relief Fund, and applications for that will be accepted through July 11th of 2021. Later this month, I'm joining with Capital Area, Austin Community College, ARMA, and a few others, and we're going to go to Fremont, California, and Reno, Nevada to go tour the Tesla sites there and kind of see how things were done in those two areas, what their impact, what Tesla's impact was on those communities, and look at what we can do to mitigate any bad things that might happen with bringing a big employer like Tesla into the Austin area, and learn what we need to do to be a good partner with them and our existing businesses, so we're not just robbing all the manufacturing talent from existing businesses to go work at Tesla. So we want to make sure we have a good, well-rounded approach to how we deal with that. Our communities have seen the value of our Workforce Wednesdays and virtual job fairs that we offer each week. Starting in May, we brought on a new event platform that expands our feature sets for these virtual job fairs to allow more resources for both job seekers and employers. Since the beginning of the pandemic, when we started doing virtual job fairs, we've had 50 both virtual and in-person events that helped almost 900 employers connect with over 13,500 job seekers. Frank mentioned that we have the information for the 2022 budget in place now. We're going to start beginning to work on that in July, and that should be ready for the August meetings. We also mentioned we had completed our cybersecurity audit. We were pleased with how that went. The vendor said, think of this not as an audit, but as an assessment to really get a bench line benchmark of where we are. And we will be working on things to move forward from that, so that when we come back and re-examine these things again, we can do even better. We have some big events coming up. The National Association of Workforce Boards is it coming up at the end of June, I think maybe the end of next week. That's going to be a virtual event again. That they did have a small in-person portion if people wanted to go. They were trying to limit that to about 300 people, which usually about 2,500 people. So we decided to participate virtually again. So that's happening at the end of next week. At the end of August, early September, the U.S. Conference of Mayors summer meeting, which was scheduled to be held in Austin in June of 2020 and was postponed several times. It's now going to happen in August, September of 2021. We'll be participating in that event with Capital Area to showcase some of the things that we've done with communications and technology advances we've made during COVID. So we'll be part of that. We have our annual TAW retreat where we get together for 3 or 4 days in August. That's happening in San Antonio this year. So that'll be our first Texas Association of Workforce Boards in-person meeting since February of 2020. So we're excited about getting back out there and doing things with our peers. And then finally, there are two last things I want to mention. In October 20th and 21st, we're going to have our board retreat at the King of the Eagles. And then in November, the annual TWC conference going to be held in Houston at the Marriott Marquis, and that's November 17th through the 19th. Our implementation work on the Rural Healthcare Initiatives Grant, Department of Labor continues, and we are slated to begin actual training under that grant in October of 2021. So things are really starting to step up there. And then finally, I just want to thank you guys for your participation in all these additional meetings we've been having with these county plan launches and the coalition meetings that we've started to have in a lot of our counties. I know it's a lot of extra time and commitment from y'all, and I appreciate you're being there when you can. So that's all I have today. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Paul. Any questions for Paul? All right, thank you. Next, we're gonna go through performance reports. We'll start with Sandy on the childcare side. There, Sandy.
Sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. So the childcare numbers are remaining steady since we were last reported, but just to highlight some differences in that for the month of through May of 2021, we're up approximately 2.5 million in our expenditures for our regular CCDF funding. For number of children in care, we are holding steady, but we do anticipate that to begin to decline as the months go on. The children on our waiting list has increased since we were last together, up now about 500 children. We anticipate that continuing to increase. Diane, if you could go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So for our childcare providers, we are holding steady. We have had a slight drop in our Texas Rising Star, primarily due to critical deficiencies with childcare regulations. But happy to report that with our April 2021 performance, we are finally above the 100 mark, so at 101%. So we hope to stay there around that number for the remainder of the fiscal year. And those are the highlights of the childcare program report. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to entertain them, or if not, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Sandy. Any questions for Sandy on the childcare report? Sandy, I did have a question, so I guess I won't let you off that easy. The increase in the total children on the wait list, do you know what is that attributed to? Is it a funding issue? Is it, you know, what's driving that increase?
Yes, thank you, Frank. Yes, indeed. Our last, what we call pulling from the waiting list, so pulling families from the wait list for potential outreach, occurred in March of 2021. So we have been on wait list, so not pulling any families off of wait list since April 1. So with that, we are fully encumbered, and so we will not be pulling full enrollment unless some funding crazily happens over the next couple months until the next fiscal year.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if any of that was attributed to providers not being able to staff and accept as many kids, or if it was all funding. So
it's a great question. And for our childcare providers, as Paul mentioned, the childcare relief grants made available or possible through the American Rescue Act, or the act before that, will be a tremendous game changer for our providers. And we're hoping that they will indeed be able to hire teachers in order to be ready for the enrollment increase that we all anticipate going through come July and August, getting ready for school.
Right. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Anything else for Sandy?
Yeah, this is Tim. I have a question. You may address this someplace in another committee, but I'm wondering, as we look at the tremendous number of children that are served in Williamson and Hayes County, and of course they're bigger, and we see the percentage of children that are cared for and their level of income level. My question is, how do we know what percentage of the children in those counties we're serving? Does the government, when they review our grants and things, look to say you need to be taking care of at least X percentage of children in these given counties? Does that make sense?
Yes, certainly on the demographics that we have there, the percentage of children under the age of 13 in households less than 85% of the state median income of working parents is the method of demographics done by the Texas Workforce Commission for the state, and then takes, the proportion by the workforce boards and then out to each county. So that's what that relationship is about. And the percent paid is how much dollars is going out. What this doesn't illustrate, of course, is the number of children that those expenditures relate to. So we could certainly do that. We don't, the number of children performance target is for the whole service delivery area, not, which is good. But we did want to illustrate kind of how it's breaking out by the dollars going to each of the counties by the demographics that would be available for childcare. Now, these demographics are not recent, will be updated with the 2020 census. So it may look very different in a few months.
Yeah, very
once we
good.
get the data.
So you answer my question. They don't look at it county by county, just for the market as a whole, because we do have some variation. Some counties are higher served and some lesser served. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes.
So Tim, if you don't mind, I'll interject just a little bit there. So as we do set our own internal benchmarks or guidelines to where we want to be in each county to try to be equitable with how we spend those funds. But as we progress throughout the year, a lot of times as we pull people off the wait list and try to put them into care, we don't have people from enough people from a certain county in order to keep those numbers in balance. So we need to get as many people in care as we can as quickly as possible. So it's a continual balancing effort, but we do strive to have equity in how we're expending those funds throughout the 9 county area.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Thanks, Tim. All right, any other questions? All right, next we'll move on to the Workforce Center report from Mike.
Right, good afternoon, everybody. It's good to see and hear from everybody. We're really excited about this month's March NPR, which is the performance reporting from TWC. As you can see, we don't have any reds up there any longer. We are meeting all of our measures across the board, and we're excited about that. We'll continue to move forward with that. We're really pushing hard and working hard on the direction that we're going right now with our teams. Our talent impact units are just doing amazing work. Our employer services are doing outstanding work, doing outreach to employers. So as you can see, the employers receiving workforce assistance, we're at about 137%. So we're looking really good on that end. Diane, if you can go to slide number 2, this is the actual NPR that we get from Texas Workforce Commission. I put arrows down so that it lines up with rural capital. You can see that we have no reds across the board. And the next one is our second page of that. We still continue to look really well across that. And one thing that I'm very excited to say about rural capital is that we're the only board in the state that is at 100%. So we're excited that we are there. And thank you, Sandy, because Sandy's part of us as well. And meeting that 101% is outstanding. So thank you, Sandy, for that. I would like to give a little update on Summer Earn and Learn. So this is just a little breakdown of our Summer Earn and Learn. I know it looks a little kind of full there, but I'll kind of go step by step through it. The total amount for the contract this year was $532,491.07 for that's what TWC has provided the board. Our workforce readiness trainings that we do, we have our dates that were set in advance. And as you see, you can go through, we still have 3 of those trainings left to go. So we've spread it out quite a bit, so it makes it doable for our participants. We like to make sure that we have a lot of them that are going through summer school. There's some that are actually vacationing. There's different camps and things like that they're participating in. So we try to spread it out over the whole month of the last part of May and the whole month of June, so that we ensure that we meet the end goal date of August 13th of 2021. So we still have 3 training dates left, and to give you a few numbers real quick, as of day before yesterday, the 14th, this was prior to us having the training on the 14th. We had 195 participants that have been enrolled, have registered with Summer Earn and Learn. Out of that, 73, this is prior to this, the 6/14, 73 has completed the workforce training, readiness training. And we already have 47 students that are on job sites working. So I'm really excited about that. We haven't had any complete yet because the sessions are 5 weeks long. So we're just getting kicked off, and so we're excited about that. And one of the questions that TWC always asks is, will we meet our minimum target, which is 112? Absolutely. So we see that not being a factor. So it gives us our work dates up there. Starts in June 5th was our first start of our work sessions, and it'll end July 16th. This first session was kind of a light session. We didn't have a whole lot that registered for that because I think a lot of them were going on vacation and had other priorities. But our second session is where the majority of that 195 students are going to come into play. We'll have all the trainings out of the way prior to them starting their workforce, actual work positions. One of the things that I'm excited to see is that we had 43 employers with 97 different work sites. So we have Goodwill involved with us, we have CVS involved, so we get different work sites out of those 43 employers, which gave us a total placement opportunity for these young adults of 286 different places to work. So we're really excited about our Summer Earn and Learn program. It looks like it's going to be a huge success this year.
Great, thanks, Mike. Okay. Anything else on our report tonight?
That would be.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mike regarding anything with the workforce centers?
Mike, I got a question. So how are staff feeling about being reopened?
Actually, they're pretty excited. They're glad to be back in the game, getting everything open. You know, it's funny when the appointments come in, they're happy to have appointments, but when it's not, you know, it gives them a time to catch up and, you know, take care of paperwork. And but things kind of slow down a little bit. That's when they're like, man, I wish we could really get started again. So they're excited about that. We should be opening the doors. I mean, we're pretty much open and ready to go at any point in time. And I think the announcements we could probably see out at any time moving forward is saying that we're open for business 100%.
Okay.
So staff is on board. We're excited about it.
I would expect to see some foot traffic at the end of the month or there soon after, based on the governor ceasing the additional $300 a week, I believe, in June 26th.
I think where we would really see the impact of that, Frank, is 2 weeks after that day. Because that would be the first time somebody who would request a payment that wouldn't be able to get it. So if they're not paying attention, if they're just, you know, rolling along, that's when they would notice.
Right. So,
and I think having that soft opening and preparing staff for that, you know, having the doors unlocked and, you know, we have walk up, I think preparing this time frame that we've had to prepare is going to be, it's done wonderful things. I think it's great. So staff are starting to feel a lot more comfortable with customers coming in, and we'll continue to continue to drive forward.
okay, great. Thanks, Mike. Any questions? All right. I don't know if Diane would have this. I don't think Jenna is on, but was anything submitted for board announcements?
Hey, Frank, I just got a message from Jenna Hyde. She said she did not have any announcements.
Okay, thank you. Any new business to bring to the board?
Hey, at that risk of being that guy, since I'm in the healthcare world, just wanted to let you know that COVID is still here and with us. We're still seeing inpatients in our hospital. The people who've chosen to get vaccinated have gotten vaccinated and they've stayed healthy. Those that haven't are the ones that are getting sick. It's 100% of the people that we've seen in our inpatient hospital settings are folks who've not been vaccinated. the Delta variant from India is proving to be far more pervasive. It is multiplying in the United States, doubling every 24 hours in terms of the number of cases here. So we're not out of the woods yet. And I just say that as a matter of concern for our staff in Workforce Solutions to make sure that they are doing what they need to do to protect themselves as we get into more face-to-face encounters. They should not be embarrassed about wearing a mask if they think that makes them feel better with the folks that are coming in to see them. And it's going to impact us. Again, I think we'll see a little upward trend here in a little bit as summer gets going on and people get connected and these variants make their way around our country. And you know, we're a global economy, and I read one document that's really amazing. At the rate we're vaccinating people in our world, it's only going to take 4.6 years to get everyone vaccinated. So just so you know, it isn't going to get wiped out globally anytime too soon, and that's going to affect supply chain and all kinds of things. So don't mean to leave you with a little bit of doom and gloom, but I just want to make sure that people protect themselves and keep themselves healthy, because it's a real challenge when people come down with this illness. So that's just my words of wisdom from the healthcare street for you all today.
Yeah, thank you, Tim. Yeah, no worries about the comments. Certainly, we appreciate having your healthcare perspective, because you see it firsthand, that we don't see that information or have that. So.
Yeah, I'd like to ask Mike, are the staff, as people come in, are they taking their temperatures? Are the staff masks? Are they required masks? Or
Yes.
what is the?
So we're continuing our safety protocol, COVID safety protocol. Nothing's changed. When we meet customers, we're still masked. We do wipe downs on all equipment after the customer gets up. We continue to do the cleaning, and we do have our temperature kiosks at the front door. All of our cubicles and workstations have plexiglass around them for our customers, so for extra protection. And then also every Friday we still follow the buildings for bacteria.
That's great news, Paul. Thank you for continuing with that. The other resource we just got in our Temple Waco area, they did a Spanish speaking virtual town hall meeting with providers and local government officials talking about COVID and vaccinations and kind of going through the myths and realities. So that is a Vimeo video, and happy to share that with anybody who thinks that could get sent to any other kinds of groups or folks that it might be able to influence them to continue on the vaccination trail. So let me know if you need that. I'll send it to Paul for sure, so Workforce will have it. But if you all would find that of value in your organizations, let me know.
Thanks, Tim.
Thanks.
All right, thank you. Any other new business to bring forward to the board? Paul mentioned it, I already had it down. I did want to mention, if everybody will remember, to keep your calendars open for our board retreat in October. I know we have our August board meeting, but participation in that retreat is really needed. So hopefully we'll have close to 100% participation for the board retreat. And I think in every meeting, Paul reads my notes before the meeting, but I also wanted to thank everybody on the board, each of you, for your participation in the committee meetings, as well as the things that have been going on related to the strategic plan and Workforce Coalition meetings in each of your counties. The leadership in the counties, whether that's the public officials, whether that's the school board, the business leaders, they not only want to see our presence and hear our perspective and input, but they need that. That's what we're there for. That's what we're each here for, serving on the board. So I've asked before, I certainly won't ask you to all participate in all 9 counties, but I certainly would like you to participate as much as you have available time to participate in those events that are taking place in your county relating to the strategic plan, Workforce Matters Coalition that will be being formed. It's critical for the success, and this is setting a path for us for the next 3 years at a minimum. So again, thank you for your participation and please do so when you can. Next item on the agenda is the date and time for our next regular board meeting. Thank you. Got that one. So what looks like will be August the 18th. We'll do that at the same time, 12:30. I suspect the same format will hold true, that we will have a location that people can come to and be present at, and also we'll have a continued virtual component. And we'll just continue to watch TWC's guidance for what and how they'll continue to allow that to go forward. So hopefully within the next couple meetings or in early next year, we'll begin to have more people able to be present in person. So, but I certainly appreciate your participation through Zoom if you're not able to be present. So. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So move.
Thank you, Alfonso. Thank you all for being here today, and y'all have a great week.
Thank you.